Hey everybody, welcome. We are back for another one of these bite-sized Halloween short film interviews, and we got a great director. His short Thirst, you can see it now. Stefan, how is it being a part of this to have your short film out? Because it was a very it looks like it was kind of you're so detailed that it's hard to see that you're able to concise everything into 5 minutes.
I'm so glad and humbled and honored to be interviewed here on Muse. So thank you so much for just giving me the time. But when it comes to Thirst, I'd say I had such a great team that was supporting me when it comes to those details. I do come from a fine arts background of painting and artistry and drawing. I studied fine arts at Carnegie Mellon, and so every frame I try to put in as much detail as possible. So when it comes to like at least the visual approach, myself along with my creative producing partner and production designer Brad Kanan, we sought to create a world that was bigger than just this 5 minutes, because that was always the first objective for us, was to create this kind of world that people would want to engage and feel and see more stories in, because it meant a lot to us.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how did it come about?
Thirst was primarily inspired by the Flint water crisis and contaminated water crises around the world. I know this is something coming from growing up in a poor community in both New York and South Florida. These sort of municipal difficulties and mismanagement and how they affect people of color, Black and Latin. I wanted to explore a horror movie that served as a cautionary tale for that. Thirst was born out of that, and then working with the incredible creative team at 20th Digital, who helped me kind of finesse my ideas and shape them into what this short became. It follows this father and daughter who are trying to get from point A to point B, where they can find some sense of clean water in an environment where you can't sweat, spit, cry, sneeze, or else these moisture sensitive monsters who became this way because of the contaminated water, they will find you and take your life.
See, this is what I like about your short story and your short film. It very much reminds me of a Twilight Zone episode.
Ooh.
And I was looking at it and I was just like, shoot, you could literally, like, I could see this on Twilight Zone in a 30-minute hour format, because the story and the ideas and and how you explain that situation really does sense to, it's more of a psychological horror, not that jump scare type of horror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really makes you think. It's a thinking man's horror film, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I'm mostly interested in the thriller, suspense, science fiction, and horror. I've always been intimidated by it, but this was such an exciting opportunity. Sometimes the things that scare you the most, I think, are the endeavors I think you should jump right into. So I was already nervous making this, because I'd never really made a horror film before. I'd made a lot of suspense thrillers, but it was fun kind of finding my way into the genre, which is, as you said, it's that psychological, it's the science fiction, so it's the detail and the props and the world, and it's that sort of suspense that has a social context. I think that's like really important for me in anything that I do. There's just so many things going on in the world that if you can wrap it in a fun, entertaining, package that can appeal to a wide audience, I think you can make more people aware to it, and hopefully they'll have a good time at the same time.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. Like, I think you putting into social issues that are occurring now is something that really is. You see a lot of people do this and do this type of work, but they don't equate what's going on and put it into their movies. You did, and I think you did a great job in doing that, because it's important to say things and bring a message in different ways to tell a story. Was it always something that you wanted to do? Make sure that you put a message in there from what was currently going on.
Yeah, I think this is something that's been instilled in me from my parents from a young age, is that in anything that I do, both of them being immigrants from Haiti, um, I think it's to find some semblance of truth and showcasing underrepresented voices in a new and unique way, and that's always been something I've wanted to do since I started making stories. So that was definitely there from the outset. And sometimes it's like, it's not even, I try not to make it too, because I think that sometimes you can end up becoming too didactic or heavy handed with a message. But like, it's so woven into me that, when I'm like making a story, it usually just finds its way in there organically. But the thing that's always most important is just feeling and making sure people care about the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronald and his daughter Becca, who are at the forefront of Thirst. I hope people kind of connect with their journey and want to see more of that, because they're just a dynamic that I haven't really seen much of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think their vulnerability and perseverance, seeing that and the facets of their humanity and how they're forced to deal in this world and how it all started. I'd like to dig in more and get in there and explore that.
Yeah, because that was the one you actually answered my next question, because I really wanted to see an expanded version of this and see
Yeah,
what the story leads up to now that she's alone in this
yeah.
world. And I kind of want to see. I was like, that's what always kills me sometimes with short films. It leaves a nice taste in your mouth, and you're just like, dude, am I ever gonna see like what I want to see?
No, Michael, that the most humbling thing I gotta say is when you show a short film after you've been working like almost a decade on movies, when you
Mm-hmm.
show shorts to your family, like,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm in New York visiting my family that I haven't seen in like a year,
Mm-hmm.
and they see it and they see the 5 minutes and they're just like, that's it. And like, it's the most humbling thing, because like me, I'm like, oh my God, we spent like 2 months making this thing, and we had to, shoot under the COVID protocols, and the fires were happening. And I'm like, put all this blood, sweat, and tears in these 5 minutes. And like my family, like they see it and they're like so proud. But at the same time, they're just like, where's the rest? But I think we achieved our objective, which is to make something that's engrossing that people want to see more of. But we've got the work set out for us. But this entire summer, again, like before we even shot the short, we had been building the world. So that's why, like, when you go back to the short and you look at some props, there are like little Easter eggs kind of tying into what this bigger world that we've been developing, for the past 4 or 5 months, just to give people a taste, because we foresee there being a really rich, fun story that one explains, what happens with Becca and her father, and then also, again, like, how did this start? Like, what is the inception of this outbreak, and what caused it?
Yeah. And that's the thing that, like, I'm looking at these and like I see yours and I'm like, I'm a member of the Hollywood Critics Association, right? And I'm like, there really hasn't been much out. And I'm like, dude, I wonder if we could nominate some of these, because like yours, like, is definitely something that I want to throw up on the board, because it's just so good.
Oh
It is
man,
so good that I really want to put it in and nominate it, because it's just, you see horror, that type of horror isn't really shown nowadays, it feels like.
yeah,
It's very
yeah,
much a scare, what can make the best use of the box office to make your return. This is something that it just really makes you think, you get that passion, you get that involvement, and it, like you said, with your family, you're gonna have people who see it. It just goes, what's more? What happens? And that's the best thing about a storyteller when they ask and they start questioning things. What's next for you? What do you have coming up next? What are you working on?
Yeah, well, one, thank you for that. You know, I mean, I'm so glad that like, you know, that you were affected by it, and in that way. I mean, you know, primarily like the fact that, yeah, hearing that from you is just keeps me going and gets me excited. But yeah, so outside of developing the feature adaptation of Thirst, we have another project that I think it's in the same vein of this horror sci-fi, and it's a horror sci-fi feature, in the vein of James Cameron's The Terminator, like the first Terminator. You know, something that's like that has that grounded feel, but still like thrilling, contained universe. You know, so we have something like that that touches on that sort of socio-political, racial conflict, and yeah, that's something. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And there's another short that we made already that will be released.
Nice.
That kind of, you know, will tip its hat off
Cool.
to that feature.
Cool. So since you just said that, and there's another short that's going to be coming out, how can people find you? How can people follow you through your career in film? Because I think I think what you're doing right now is some good stuff, really good stuff, just by what I've seen from this short. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else is coming from you, man. So how do they find you?
Thank you, Michael. So to find me, I'm not on social media, but I have my website, stefandezil.com or sdezil.com, each word. And then you can find me on Vimeo, I'm on YouTube, and LinkedIn. For those, that's the one network I'm on.
That's a whole different audience right there on LinkedIn. That's a whole different audience.
I found it has helped me, you know, for the kind of art that I want to make. Disconnecting like on the day-to-day social life has been like helping me create better stories for people. So that's why I'm not, you know, but yeah. But yeah, you can find me on my sites and yeah, and I'm here interviewing with you on MUSE TV. So thank you so much for showing the project and talking about it. That means so much to me and my entire team.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for being a part of it. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing more from you. Within this video on the MUSE TV site, they're going to be able to see your short film. So hopefully a lot of people get to see it, check it out, get to feel the way I feel about it. So thank you so much for stopping with us. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time here on MUSE TV.
Sounds great. Thank you, Michael.